Hey everyone, I'm Naomi, and in this video I'm using my normal voice because what we're talking about today is a pretty serious topic. That's not to say the video I did last week wasn't serious, but I've got a lot to unpack here, and I want to make sure I address it in a way that gets my point across as clear and as precise as possible. So what are we talking about? Family-friendly content. And why are we talking about it? Because YouTube insists that that's what content should be. So YouTube came out recently and said that you're not allowed to say a list of words in your videos. Say that list of words, say any of those words in that list, and you will get banned. And darn it, the way that they went about this, to be polite, is freaking stupid. So let's start with the Shane Dawson incident. So, Shane Dawson releases a banger video. He stays silent for a very long time, and then he comes out with a banger video on conspiracies, which is good. This is the stuff that we love from him. This is the stuff we expect to see. And when it shows up, YouTube has the bright idea of saying, oh yeah, we don't want to show others or recommend others conspiracy videos. I'm sorry, what, YouTube? What? You don't want to recommend conspiracy videos? Are you serious? You see, the problem with that mentality is a little thing called the Barbara Streisand effect. The more you try to shut people up, the more they will talk. The less you say, or the less you do about it, the less likely they are to get anywhere. They just sort of well in their own conspiracies, and if they're true, they're true. If they're not, they're not. But, to actually go after these people, to target these people that are making conspiracy videos is ridiculous. Because because you're basically saying that, these people are right. I mean, I hate to be that girl, but yeah, that's basically what you're saying. You're saying that they are onto something. And that's the kind of thing that conspiracy theorists have thrived on for decades. Is the fact that, oh, we're being shut up about this. Men in black showed up in suits and started telling me to stay quiet, so I must be on to something. That's usually the kind of crazy thing that happens. So let's address where this goes in terms of family-friendly content. Where this goes in terms of family-friendly content is YouTube also put in a statement that we're all to start being family-friendly. You might have heard about family-friendly Felix. You know? Some of your favorite YouTubers going family-friendly. And it's crazy because it's like, you know, some of them, there is no way that they can escape being themselves. And some of them, some of these YouTubers and things like that, are just not family friendly. But it's okay because that's their audience. That's what their audience expects from them. But YouTube insists, you know, you gotta be family friendly. And I'll tell you what the problem with that is. If you start to mollycoddle around and group people up and treat them like babies, people that don't want to be treated like babies are going to get sick of it pretty quickly. You know? If I started addressing all of you like you want logical, free-thinking adults, which I usually make the assumption that you are, then you'd be pretty mad at me. I would get tons and tons of dislikes, which I have done in the past. I've received countless backlash. And I've learned from it because I faced conflict. And when you do these kinds of things and you create these kind of safe spaces, the problem with that is nobody faces conflict. And they need to have conflict to gain a better understanding of their ideas. You know? How are your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions ever to be educated and improved upon if you don't learn the fundamental flaws of your reasoning that sometimes can only be pointed out by individuals other than yourself? How are you ever to improve as a creator, especially if, you know, you're in this state of always being family friendly and comments are family friendly and, you know, criticism is just not there. You know, the whole point of criticism is, you know, critics want to talk about the things that they love and why they love them, but also what they believe can be improved upon. You know, it's why I got started in movie reviews and all that kind of thing way back when. You know? Now, in the past, I've done movie reviews as well that I've deleted. And the reason I did is because I realized later on that I wasn't critical enough. You know, that people expected a much more in-depth criticism than the one that I gave, and that review was for Infinity War, which at the time I held back on saying certain things because I didn't want to spoil the movie for people, but that led to an oversight where I wasn't critical of some of the things that I would usually be critical of in a movie, like lighting, like special effects, like shot arrangement, you know, editing, things like that that I'm a real nerd about and that I love discussing when it comes to games, movies, you name it. You know, so I've definitely dealt with my fair share of criticism before. In fact, last year was my absolute low point, I would say. I was looking at everything through rose-tinted glasses. You know, I was in a situation where I was not at my best as a creator, and it showed in my content. It showed that I wasn't enjoying the content that I was making. And the reason for that is because, I was an emotional mess. I'll say that now. There was a video where I literally uploaded myself crying at the beginning of the video. A video I also deleted. And, that's why it means so much that I say we need criticism, okay? We need people to be criticized on the things that they do, because if they're not, how are they ever to be prepared for the real world? That's the whole point of having kids, is that you prepare them for the real world. You prepare them for the struggles, you prepare them for the conflict that they will face. And in the real world, you're going to face swearing, you're going to face a world that doesn't care about your feelings. And if you're not ready for that, it'll eat you alive, Now you can pretend that the world is all rainbows and kittens and unicorns, all you like, but that's an illusion. That's a front. The real world is not like that. Del Toro's Quest, one of my favorite books, covers this in the original series. This concept of a person living a life believing that their world was one way when really, in actual fact, it's completely not what they expected. They were living in this bubble, in this illusion that everything was okay when it wasn't. You see, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And when you change the way you look at YouTube, and start looking at, the content out there that isn't family friendly, really, is it that bad compared to, the violence on the streets? Is it that bad compared to, the terrorist attacks and all that kind of thing? I'm sorry if that's controversial, but is it really? No. The real stuff is far worse because it's real. And that shit happens. So anyway, in this video, I want to cover some examples, okay, in terms of YouTube. And another one I want to talk about, besides the Shane Dawson incident, is a incident related to a fellow Twitch streamer by the name of Helena Live. Now, Helena makes a video saying that there are only two agendas, or she says that there are only two agendas in one of her streams. The problem with that was that someone took to Twitch. I think someone reported her, I don't know. But Twitch basically contacted her. There were several emails sent back and forth. And the context of the story is she said nothing offensive at all, but it was deemed as hate speech anyway. And as a trans person, I find this really sad that she was essentially shunned for her beliefs. No matter where you go, whether it's Twitch, Tumblr, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, they're all having this family-friendly content thing and attempting to shove it in our faces and make us submit to it. Basically, if you're not family-friendly, you're kicked to the curb like it's wrong. You're made to feel like you're generally a bad human being if you don't make content that is appealing to the family, to the concept of the family. Another example of where this has gone horrifically wrong and gone too far is a YouTuber by the name of Rob Gavigan, formerly known as Rob Dyke. Because his last name was deemed offensive, he changed it. He changed his name because of not being family friendly in YouTube's eyes. Because of not being a family friendly last name, because of being a essential slur, you know, that's ridiculous. If that's the kind of thing that, if that kind of thing happened to me, I would be pissed at YouTube. You know, because people don't realize you gotta go through some legal stuff to sort out changing your name. I still haven't changed my name legally yet. You know, because there's papers you've got to sign for that, and it's a process that can take months. And they were depriving him of content, of making money off of his content, until he changed his name. Yes, that's right. He was forced to change his name if he wanted to continue having fame on YouTube. Another example we have of this family-friendly situation is PewDiePie, who is under the constant sniper fire of the mainstream media. You know, a guy who is literally the representation of old YouTube and the way that YouTube used to be. He's the epitome of the independent as far as things go. Now, yeah, okay, he has editors who help him out, and good on those people for helping him out. He deserves all the help he gets. But what he doesn't deserve is to be told he needs to cut back saying swear words and so on and so forth, and be more, you know, family friendly. You know, a lot of these people, like gaming channels and so on, they just want to make content and be themselves, and a lot of them can't escape being themselves. They can never be anything but themselves. So do you really think that they're going to easily just switch to being family friendly? No. Because then they wouldn't feel, you know, they wouldn't feel happy, you know. They feel like they're hiding, you know, part of who they are. It would become essentially putting on an act just to please people, just to please kids. And that's not okay. Like, if you really want us to be family friendly, what the heck was YouTube Kids for? Hi, YouTube? Are we just gonna pretend like that never existed? You know, you literally created a platform for kid content only, and then you have the nerve to sit there and say that others have to be family friendly too, because parents don't monitor what their kids watch. You know, that's totally the parents' fault. Parents have got to keep an eye on what their kids watch. It's just common sense. You know? It's called being a good parent. And I may not be a parent, but I think I understand the basics of how to be a good parent because I've seen so many fail to do it correctly. Another example of YouTube's problem with family-friendly content is, and this is perhaps the most upsetting, in the form of their YouTube Premium service and why I stopped YouTube Premium. Because what their YouTube Premium service wants to do is it's happy to advocate for violence and feature violence and swearing and all that kind of thing in its content. But when it comes to other YouTubers trying to do that as well, suddenly it's not okay. Whatever happened, YouTube, to leading by example? So essentially what we have is there's this show called Wayne. It's by the makers of Deadpool. That alone should tell you the kind of content you're getting into. It's not going to be kid friendly. It was by the people who made Deadpool. Coincidentally enough, the people who made Deadpool also made a kid friendly version of Deadpool. But you get my point. The people who saw the original knew that Once Upon a Deadpool was missing things, and it became very clear that things were cut from the movie in certain scenes. The point I'm getting at here is YouTube is hypocritical. Then we have perhaps the most controversial part of all of this, Jimmy Kimmel, a talk show host who last year spoke about a shooting. Now, my heart goes out to the people affected by those shootings. I have complete empathy for those people, but what I do not have empathy at all for is people who see that as an opportunity to make money and to talk about these things, and in the same breath, whether they realize it or not, support shutting the people up that want to talk to and deserve to talk to others about those issues. You deserve to talk about these things, especially if you've been through them. That's part of overcoming victimization, is learning that you're not a victim, that you're a survivor, and all that kind of thing. YouTubers like Jacqueline Glenn have found it particularly hard to make content because every time they do, if they say certain words, they have to cut them out because an algorithm means that those words will lead to their video being demonetized, and then by the time they try to remonetize it, it's already lost any chance in gaining traction. I'm trying to, whether you realize it or not, be very careful about saying those certain words because I don't want it to be picked up by the algorithm. I myself have to be careful and self-aware of this stuff because YouTube is watching and doing everything they can to silence people, and I'm not having it. I want to be able to be a gamer, to talk about things, but the issue with that is apparently us as gamers, we're not advertiser friendly. You know, even, freaking people marketing video games to people like me, they often, don't show a realistic interpretation of what multiplayer interactions are like. They act like there is no conflict in these online interactions, and there is. There has been for a very long time. And there probably will be for many years. But that conflict is, in some way, a form of chaotic good. It might be bad, but it's doing good because it helps you better understand the world around you, and it helps you better understand the flaws in your own opinions. Anyway, I'm Naomi, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.